the thing that I was feeling really called to talk about when I reflected on what that would mean, right? Like share my story, was to talk about what has become the greatest theme of my life and what I have committed my work to, which is helping people to deepen their connection to their authentic selves through their intuition. And so that is what I am here to live and practice, and that is also what I am here to teach. And in the context of that, I thought I would kind of take a pulse of the group. So when I say intuition, what comes up for you? And yes. Your gut, right? Okay.
Inner knowing.
Your inner knowing, beautiful, yeah. Yes?
Understanding signals and guidance. That
Yes. Yes, I love that. Anyone else?
Knowing yourself.
Yes, and up there? A tingling feeling, ooh, I like that. Yes?
The part that's not logical.
Woof. Yes, yes, we're gonna get to that. Anyone else?
For me, innovation.
Innovation comes from your intuition. I love that. And Mike? Your inner voice. Oh, these are beautiful. Oh, I love that. Okay, yes. And if I asked you, when in your life has your intuition really boom, showed up for you? Like giving you this, I think we got someone who moved to Fort Lauderdale.
So I think that for me, it happens in two different times. I think sometimes it's in a time of crisis.
Yes.
When I'm actually still. So, to your point, when it's not logical. So
Yeah.
everything should be chaotic, but when I'm listening to that inner voice that's saying, you're okay, do this.
Yes.
That.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great. For who else would like to share kind of briefly? Yes.
Whenever what is logical and people are telling me makes sense doesn't work for me, then you shift gears to that inner knowing, because that's an electric thing, that's a brain thing, which is electric. That is an outside thing where you can get information that might not be logical, but it works. And especially logical things like math and doctors and like that don't always work.
Yes. I think one theme that's emerging that I love is that your intuition is in your body, in your heart. It's not coming from up here, right? And that, to me, is one of the greatest things that I always remember when I'm in that space. And so today, I want to share two really pivotal moments of my life when my intuition was like this, right? And how that worked out and how I moved through those moments and how they changed my life. And to kind of give you the fast forward through the first 34 years of this story. So as Evan said, I grew up in Dominican Republic. I moved to the States when I was 19. I lived in New York City throughout my 20s. I still miss it. I moved to South Florida. It's going to be a decade in February, which is blowing my mind. But I've had about 4 different careers, married, had my baby, got divorced, was a single mom for about 10 years. And the first moment when I can remember that it was what I called the beginning of my intuitive journey happened, I'm setting the stage, July 2014. So I'm working at a small agency in Miami. I'm a social media director. I'm loving my job. Have you ever had a job that was like an amazing job until it wasn't?
Yep.
There was things changed and then it was I don't like it here anymore. And I felt like a very urgent leave to get out and to get out quickly. At the time, I'm a single mom, don't have a lot of savings, and I say yes to another job too damn soon. I said yes to that job out of desperation and out of I need to get out of here. The way that my mother recalls this story, and part of my French, she said, you needed a lifeboat, and you got on one, and then you realized that it was covered in shit. Because I walk into this other place, and it is bizarro me. It is the most opposite place. I'm all about sisterhood and spirituality and feeling it and all of that, and this place felt like a frat house. It was very structured. I came from a very creative and free environment. It was very like linear, and there were all these rules. The person who was supposed to be my boss was a different person. There were just a lot of things that were completely off. And you can imagine, as a single mother to a 4-year-old then, somebody who had recently come to Miami, I was like, holy crap, what am I gonna do? Like, I just started this job. What's gonna happen to my professional reputation? It's all I have. How am I gonna feed my kid? I can't, like, I couldn't even imagine that I was gonna quit, but that's exactly what would happen. This job was so wrong for me. I never opened the new hire packet. I remember going in the bathroom and wishing that the little lock on the stall would get stuck so I wouldn't have to come back out there. This job was in Brickell, and I would sit in the little fountain in Mary Brickell Village with my sandwich, like, like crying. It was so completely wrong. But somehow, on the 10th day of employment, I just decided to pack up my stuff with zero plan. I think I maybe had like $300 in saving. And I walked into my boss's office and I said, this isn't working out. I need to leave. And I got in my car, and this is the one time in my life that driving in US 1 was joyful. Like, I turned up the music, and I put the windows down, and I just had my sunglasses, and I had never felt so free. And I had no business feeling this way. Like, if I was looking at it from a rational place, I should have been freaking out, right? Like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I had no plan. I had no idea what I was gonna do. But I had taken one of the most courageous actions of my life, and I had wholeheartedly followed my intuition. Wholeheartedly. And in that drive home, somehow I knew I would never have another job again. I can't explain it, but there was something really powerful about, all right, intuition, you want me to jump off the cliff? I'm going. And I jumped, and it was this feeling of, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay, it's gonna work out. So that is story number 1. Since then, to give you a little context, I started my business doing what I knew, which was an agency. So I started a social media marketing agency, which is how I ended up teaching social media workshops. I started working with medium-sized companies, and then I realized that I was going to all of these amazing events where I was meeting really incredible people and all of these women entrepreneurs. So the moment they learned what I did, they were like, oh my God, Gabby, I need your help. You understand branding and social media? Help. And so I started going to coffee with people and just kind of walking them through things and realizing I am enjoying this so much more than I am like running social media teams for companies. I think I'm gonna move all the way into the world of coaching and workshops. So I do that. And I do that for several years. And this is how I meet the incredible Chloe. And over time, this really beautiful kind of organic community starts forming. At the time, I was doing a similar thing to this in Little Havana. We were hosting, I had a partnership with someone. We had a community called Brand New Mornings. And so every second Thursday of the month, we would get together in a similar space. And I was building community, and it was feeling really good. And specifically, the women that I was working with, they kept telling me, like, Gabby, I love when we all get together, and then like when I go home, I'm like, but I feel so disconnected and alone. And then I come here and it feels so good, and then I go and then it feels bad. And then I realized in that moment that it's up to me to create that structure for them. And that's how I end up launching the membership community called Las Comadres. This was in the fall of 2018. And it started as an in-person event community, later turned into an online community with the pandemic. Christina's actually a member. And it was this complete passion project that grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. I brought on a co-founder, my friend Jamie Nolan, who had been acting as a co-founder before she was ever pronounced with that title. I don't know if you've ever had somebody like that in your projects where you're like, do you want to be an official part of this? Because you're already doing the work, you know? And then we get to story number 2 of intuition. So about this time last year, this community that I adore more than life itself, my role within it starts to feel off. And this is crushing to me, right? Because it's like, why do I feel this way about this thing that I love? Like, I started it myself. I have told every podcast that would listen that I would run it until I was 90. What is happening, right? So I just get curious about these feelings. And I accept them. I'm like, I'm feeling kind of frustrated. And I keep like examining it up here. Even though I think unconsciously I knew that if I dropped in, I was gonna have to face some things I didn't want to. And so I kept examining it up here. But I did make a lot of space in my life to sort of reflect on it. I would journal about it. I would meditate a lot. I would just take a lot of walks. This was still pre-vaccine. I was kind of quarantined. So it was easier to like be in that reflective space. And I remember that I was asking myself, what is it that I really want? What is it that I really want? And I asked myself that question alone. Like, if my actions wouldn't negatively impact a single person, what do I want? And I got my answer. My answer was, I was ready for a new chapter in my life. I had just recently got together with my partner. We were planning to move in together. We were going to blend our families together. He has children. I have a son. There was a lot of priority that I wanted to give to my relationship, to family. Like, I was just starting like a new moment of my life. I also was feeling very, very called to go back to more deeper and intimate spaces. I was so proud of this big, beautiful community that we had created, but I was like, but I want to play like over here. I'm like, you guys are great. I want to play over here. And so I get clear about that for myself, but I still haven't like fully accepted that I don't hear Las Comadres in the list of these things that I want. And so I stay up here. I come back up here in that moment, and I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'm just overwhelmed. I'm just overwhelmed with like the business of running like the day-to-day. Let's just get more organized. Like, how do I structure this community, so this business? And I think that that's an interesting distinction, right? The community and then the business. How do I structure this business so it's not so overwhelming? And at the time, I was like, okay, well, you know what? It's time for us to get like a proper team. And so January 2021, we went all in. Okay, we need an online business manager. We need a virtual assistant. We need this person and this person. This is how we're going to distribute the tasks. Here are all our processes. Here's how we optimize it. Here's how we automate them. Like, we became a well-oiled machine. It was amazing. And it still didn't feel right. And it crushed me. It absolutely, I was carrying this weight on my chest all the time. How could I feel like this about the thing that I founded, the thing that I feel so passionately about? And I remember I got on a plane to New Orleans after the second dose of the vaccine when we felt invincible. And who has been to New Orleans here? Okay, I adore the city. It is so like mystical and spiritual and just powerful. And I felt like, I've been there so many times, and I was like, this is where I'm going to get my clarity. And I sat down on the first night that I was there, and I journaled, and I said, I am not leaving New Orleans with this weight on my chest. Like, I was like, guides, angels, wherever you are, everybody, I am calling a meeting. Like, I cannot handle this uneasiness and this uncertainty about what I want next. And in writing that down in that journal, I let it go. I was like, it's your hands now. I'm going to have a good time in New Orleans. And on the flight back to Miami, just like a 2-hour flight, I wrote on my notebook the entire time. The entire time, so much so that like my hand was swollen and hurt by the time we landed. But what I wrote down was the plan of how I would step aside in my role as CEO. Because what I recognized in that flight is that my co-founder was more than ready and more than willing to lead it. The irony is that, for those of you who don't know, the word comadre, it's what mothers and godmothers call each other, right? It's like, shit goes down, you got my baby, right? And it is literally what I did with Jamie. I realized that it was my role to birth this community, but I didn't have to raise it for the rest of my life. It could live on and my comadre would take her over. Now, I'm making it sound like I was terrified. There was a simultaneous, like, immense relief of that clarity that I sort of like, I knew it was true and I knew it was gonna work. It was like the same certainty that had me driving off from that job. But it was still a lot of trust, because the difference is, in this case, all the moving pieces. How was I going to tell Jamie? How was I going to tell the community? How was I going to tell the rest of the world? Like, what would people think? Who was I letting down? How many people was I going to disappoint? And you realize that those thoughts, that's your fear talking, right? Your intuition just says, it's time to go, Gabby. And your fear is like, well, what are they going to say? And what if, and what if you live under a bridge? And and that's your fear. And so, like, that is the greatest distinction of how to recognize when your truth is your truth. And the thing that really gave me the courage to not only share this news with Jamie, but to announce it with our community and with the world, is that literally what we talk about every day in that community is live your truth. Be who you are. If you need to disappoint other people to be who you are, then you go ahead and you do that, right? And a friend of mine told me, why aren't you giving yourself the same grace you give everybody else? And then I was like, wow. Jamie this woman is so incredible, and she is such, like, the true definition of friend, that when I told her what was going down, the first words she said to me was, this is the bravest thing you've ever done in your life. As I gave her this immense responsibility, and as she so excitedly and graciously accepted it. And so that is story number 2. And I feel like I was able to move through story number 2 because of these 7 years of being in this steady practice of, this is who I am, this is who I'm true to. I trust that I am supported. I trust that it's going to be okay. I trust that I can trust myself, and I don't have to be afraid that I'm going to blow up my life, that I'm going to hurt other people, that my truth is always a worthy cause to follow. It's always going to lead you down the right path. So I wanted to share these 2 stories today because they are stories of leaving things that are no longer right. And it doesn't have to be a negative thing. I adore this community like it's my baby, like I gave birth to it. It just like left for college for a little bit, you know? But it's like recognizing the seasonality of life, right? Recognizing that there are seasons where we get to do some things and seasons where we might move away from that. And that's actually beautiful, and how wonderful would it be to live without that resistance of what is, and to recognize and acknowledge that in our truth we can be supported and we can be thriving, actually, because everything that I wrote on that list of what I wanted a year ago is my life today. My partner and I moved in together. The boys are getting along great. My life got a lot smaller and simpler and deeper in this way that I needed it to. I'm running my mastermind community, and I wanted to point out, Chloe was in my very first mastermind in the fall of 2017, and I like never forget it. And it's really, like, you guys, you're the first people I'm telling in this space. I'm waiting for my podcast to upload on Apple, but it's live on Spotify. It's called Living Intuition. I have been wanting to do this since like 2016. Somehow now, with this space that I've created in my life, I have room for these creative projects that I've been wanting to do forever. And there's so much space and ease that I was really calling in. And so giving yourself permission to do what your heart is telling you to do, even when it's hard to imagine yourself outside of that context, and recognizing and remembering that you are supported. One of my favorite phrases is from Brené Brown, that she says, if you go around in the world looking for reasons that you don't belong, you'll find them. But if you go around looking for reasons that you do, you will as well. And so being in that like steady recognition of I belong, I am supported, and I will be loved and supported even when I stand in my truth, maybe especially when I stand in my truth. So that is what I wanted to share with you today. I hope that you've enjoyed this. If you're interested in staying in touch and getting on my list, I share lots of cool stuff. Just send me a direct message with your email on Instagram at the Gaby Guzman, so GabyGuzman.